Now, as this last example, we're going to look at comparing loan sources to see what sorts of savings we could get in our interest. Now, Franz purchased carpeting costing $2,400 with his credit card. When the bill comes due on January 1st, Franz realizes that he can pay $350 per month until the debt is paid off, and the credit card will charge an 18% APR. Now, assuming Franz makes no other purchases with this credit card, how many payments are necessary to retire this debt? Okay, so first off, for February billing cycle, so maybe we'll just keep track of it as being on February 1st, he owed $2,400 and he's going to send in his payment of $350. So at that point in time, he owes $2,050. Alright, so for the next billing cycle, which would occur on March 1st, now at this point in time, he's going to get hit with that first finance charge. Now, if this card charges an 18% annual percentage rate, then this is going to be 18 divided by 12, or 1.5% as a monthly rate, which may make the calculations a little bit easier. So then that means on March 1st, what he will owe is going to be the $2,050 and then plus this percent on the $2,050. So plus 0.015 times the $2,050. Okay, which means at the end, for this billing date, they will then ask for him to pay $2,080.75. Right, so if that's what they're going to ask for him to pay, he's going to pay off $350. Which brings his balance down to $1,730.75. Now the same thing is going to happen on the next billing cycle for April 1st. So maybe we'll try to start condensing some of these calculations. So on April 1st, okay, so how I could look at this is that he's going to have to pay this amount plus 15% increase on top of that. So I could actually use that percent increase formula, that 1 plus P times that base, in order to get this amount that he would be owed. So what that would look like in this case would be, I'm going to do 1 plus 0.015, okay, so that would be your increase that you want. At this point in time, it would be on the balance of $1,730.75. So that means they're going to bill out $1,756.71. So then on top of that, he's going to make his payment of his $350. So he will owe $1,406.71 at that point. Alright, so now to condense this even further, when we go to the next month, if I can see that I'm going to do this calculation, and I always just want to keep figuring out what this number is and then subtracting the 350, I'll just go ahead and do that all at once. So this is going to represent doing the initial balance plus that 15% on top of it for the previous month's balance of $1,406.71. And then I'm going to then immediately deduct that payment of $350 off of it. Okay, so at this point in time, the balance on the account would be $1,077.81. Okay, so we'll move into June. All right, so for June 1st, this would represent then my having my finance charge on top of that initial balance. Okay, for this $1,077.81, and then I have my payment that's going to go through. So now the account will be sitting at $743.98. Alright, so we're just bringing it down a little bit every month. We move on to July 1st. Alright, so then even condensing this part down, that'll be 1.015 times the 743.98 minus the 350. So now the account would be at $405.14. Moving into August. So it'll do that 15% increase on the 405.14 minus the 350. At that point in time, I'm at 61.22. Okay, cool. So now at this point in time, if I send in my payment of $350, I'm going to have gone too far. So for the next cycle, which would be on September 1st, they're going to then charge me 15% on the 61.22. So they will bill out $62.14, which that's what I'll have to pay on that last cycle. So then going through here, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 payments of $350. Okay, so I had 7 payments of $350. And then I'll have 1 payment for that last one of $62.14. So to answer this question, how many payments are necessary? There'll be 8 payments total. Now for the next part, what's going to be the total interest that Franz will have to pay? Well, if he makes 7 payments of $350, and then 1 payment of $62.14, he will have ultimately made payments totaling $2,512.14 to pay off this loan when the initial loan was for $2,400. So the difference in what he paid out versus what the initial loan was is going to be the interest. So this then tells me that he paid $112.14 in interest. Alright, so then for part C, how much money could Franz have saved by obtaining a fixed installment loan of $2,400 with an annual percentage rate of 6% interest with 6 equal monthly payments? So we're going to use the amortization formula, which is M is equal to P times R over N times 1 plus R over N raised to the t exponent, which is the number of payments, and then the denominator just repeats that, and then minus 1. So if we can figure out then what the monthly payments are, we'll be able to figure out what the interest was going to be on this loan, and then we'll figure out how much interest was saved. So throwing the numbers into this formula, the loan amount was going to be for $2,400. The interest rate is 6%, compounded monthly. So they'll have 1 plus 0.06 over 12. This will be over 6 months, so 6 equal payments. And then I'll just repeat that in minus 1 in the denominator. Alright, so I threw all that in my calculator. I stored this amount in A. The numerator I stored in B. The denominator I stored in C. So we get that the monthly payment is going to be $407.03. Alright, so for this loan, if he's going to pay $407.03 over 6 months, that means he'll have paid out $2,442.18. So that's what he would have had to pay out to pay off a $2,400 loan, which means he would have been charged $42.18 in interest. So at this point in time, I can answer the questions about the savings. Up here, he was going to pay $112.14 in interest. Down here, he only would have paid $42.18 in interest. That means he would save $69.96 in interest if he went with this loan instead.